Burkina Faso military rulers scrap electoral commission, taking control of future polls. In a bold and controversial move that could reshape the future of democracy in West Africa, Burkina Faso's military-led government has officially scrapped the country's independent electoral commission. Instead, they've placed control of future elections directly in the hands of the ruling junta, led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Supporters say this is a necessary step to restore order and sovereignty in a nation plagued by terrorism and foreign interference. Critics, however, warn it's a dangerous drift towards authoritarianism. But what does this really mean for the people of Burkina Faso, the region, and democracy as a whole? Welcome to our channel, where we dig deep into the stories shaping our world. In today's video, we break down the military's latest political maneuver, why it favors Ibrahim Traoré, and what it means for the country's future. Stay with us. A nation in crisis. The background. Burkina Faso has been grappling with a growing jihadist insurgency since 2015. Groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State have caused widespread violence, killing thousands and displacing millions of people. By 2022, about 40% of the country was under the control of these insurgent groups, creating a dire security situation. The civilian government at the time struggled to address the crisis, leading to frustration among citizens and the military. This paved the way for two coups in 2022, the first in January, led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba, and the second in September, when Captain Ibrahim Traoré ousted Damiba, citing his failure to tackle the insurgency effectively. Traoré, a young and charismatic military officer, promised to restore security and bring prosperity to Burkina Faso. At just 37 years old, he became one of the world's youngest leaders, capturing the attention of many Burkinabe and Africans across the continent. His leadership style emphasizes self-reliance, Pan-Africanism, and breaking free from foreign influence. Why scrap the Electoral Commission? In July 2025, Burkina Faso's military government made a significant decision to dissolve the Independent National Electoral Commission, which was responsible for organizing elections. According to Territorial Administration Minister Emile Zerbo, the commission was costing the government approximately $870,000 annually, a sum deemed wasteful given the country's economic challenges. The Interior Ministry has now taken over the responsibility of handling future elections, a move that Zerbo said would reinforce our sovereign control on the electoral process and at the same time limit foreign influences. This decision was not just about saving money. For Traoré and his supporters, the Electoral Commission represented a system that was too closely tied to foreign powers, particularly former colonial power France. Burkina Faso, like many African nations, has a history of foreign interference in its political processes. By scrapping the commission, the military government aims to assert greater control over the country's democratic future, ensuring that elections reflect the will of the Burkinabe people rather than external agendas, strengthening national sovereignty. One of Traoré's core principles is to free Burkina Faso from what he calls Western imperialism and neo-colonialism. Since taking power, he has taken bold steps to distance the country from France, its former colonial ruler. For decades, France maintained significant influence over Burkina Faso's politics, economy, and security. Traoré's government ended French military presence in the country in 2023 and suspended French aid, signaling a shift toward self-reliance. Instead, Burkina Faso has forged new partnerships with Russia, which has provided support in the fight against jihadist groups. The decision to disband the Electoral Commission aligns with this broader goal of sovereignty. Traoré's government believes that foreign-funded institutions, like the Electoral Commission, could be used to manipulate Burkina Faso's political system. By placing election management under the Interior Ministry, the military ensures that the process is controlled by Burkinabe authorities who prioritize national interests. This move has been praised by many as a step toward true independence, allowing Burkina Faso to chart its own path without external interference. Addressing security before elections. When Traoré took power, he initially promised to restore civilian rule by July 2024, as agreed with the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. However, the worsening security situation made it clear that holding elections in such conditions would be challenging. In May 2024, after national consultations, the government extended the transition period to July 2029, allowing Traoré to remain in power and contest the next presidential election. This decision was driven by the need to prioritize security. Traoré has repeatedly stated that elections are not the priority until the jihadist insurgency is under control and all citizens can safely vote. With nearly 2 million people displaced and large parts of the country under insurgent control, holding free and fair elections is difficult. By delaying the vote and restructuring the electoral process, the military government is focusing on stabilizing the country first, a move that many Burkina Faso support. International reactions. The international community has expressed concern over the junta's actions. The dissolution of the CENI has been criticized as a setback for democratic governance, with some analysts warning that it could further isolate Burkina Faso from regional and international frameworks. The country's withdrawal from ECOWAS and its pivot toward Russia have strained relations with Western nations and regional neighbors. The United States, through AFRICOM Commander General Michael Langley, has criticized Traoré's leadership, particularly for underspending on anti-terrorism efforts. However, Langley's comments were met with pushback from the junta, which accused him of misrepresenting the situation. Meanwhile, Russia's growing influence in Burkina Faso, highlighted by Traoré's meeting with President Vladimir Putin in 2025, underscores the country's shifting alliances, challenges, and criticisms. While Traoré enjoys widespread support, his government faces challenges. The jihadist insurgency remains a major problem, with groups like JNIM claiming over 280 attacks in the first half of 2025, double the number from the previous year. Some critics argue that the military has not done enough to curb the violence, and human rights groups have accused the army of targeting civilians, particularly the Fulani community, in its operations. The government has denied these claims, stating that it investigates all allegations of abuses. The decision to scrap the Electoral Commission has also raised concerns among some who fear it could delay the return to democracy. However, supporters argue that Traoré's focus on security and sovereignty is necessary before elections can be held. They point out that the military has made progress in other areas, such as building a new airport and investing in agriculture, which show a commitment to long-term development. A bright future for Burkina Faso? Under Captain Ibrahim Traoré's leadership, Burkina Faso stands at a crossroads, balancing bold reforms with democratic uncertainties. The dissolution of the Electoral Commission (CENI) signals a decisive shift to curb foreign influence and assert national sovereignty, resonating with millions of Burkina Faso yearning for self-reliance. Traoré's vision prioritizes security, economic growth, and national pride, earning him significant support. However, postponing elections until 2029 and centralizing electoral control under the junta raise concerns about democratic backsliding. Critics argue this move consolidates power, risking public trust, especially if security challenges persist. The ongoing insurgency remains a critical test. Traoré's ability to stabilize the nation will define his legitimacy. Allegations of human rights abuses and suppressed dissent further complicate his leadership, potentially alienating even loyal supporters. While the junta frames these changes as cost-saving and sovereignty-enhancing, the path to civilian rule grows uncertain. The international community, including ECOWAS, must navigate engaging Burkina Faso without deepening its isolation. With strategic investments in the economy and effective counterinsurgency measures, Traoré's Burkina Faso could emerge as a model of African self-determination, but only if it balances authority with accountability to secure a truly bright future. The military's takeover of Burkina Faso's electoral process is not just a power shift, it's a statement. Ibrahim Traoré and his government are signaling that stability, security, and sovereignty come first, even if it means sidelining democratic institutions for now. As the world watches closely, one question remains. Is this the beginning of a more stable future, or the end of democracy in Burkina Faso? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Is Ibrahim Traoré saving his country or tightening his grip? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth political updates.